All right, welcome back everybody to the weekly YouTube video from the Daily SEL Leader. I'm James Bale. I'm here with my friend and co-author, Randy Weiner. How are you today, Randy?
I am very well, James. James, there's something different about you today.
Is it my hair? Is it my what?
I don't think it's your hair.
Okay, well, yes, we're in the new location. We actually had to miss last week's video. We were in the midst of driving from San Antonio to north of Denver in a town called Greeley, Colorado, where we are now living in a new house. As you can see, the chaos behind us slowly getting resolved, but we are in a new house, a new location, so different time zone. So I'm all confused. So if I stammer or stumble about something, just let me know.
Congratulations. And James has shared that he's been applying some of the SEL skills that we talk about in managing the emotion that can be associated with a move like that.
lots of deep breathing, lots of skills I've had to employ over the past week or so. Definitely, especially with the movers, but that's a whole different story. So
whole different video.
All right. So this month and this week, we're actually looking at self-awareness and the whole idea of self-efficacy. And as those of you who probably have heard that word a ton, the concept of self-efficacy definitely comes from the amazing work done by one of my favorite psychologists, Albert Bandura, who back in the late 90s came up with the whole idea of self-efficacy. And self-efficacy, in a sense, is the belief that you have that you're capable of doing something. So this whole idea of the importance of your belief system around your role as a leader is one of the things that hasn't been promoted a lot. Self-efficacy is usually talked about a lot with students. Like you have the self-efficacy, the belief that you can do math or reading or whatever. The same thing for teachers. Do you have the belief that you can actually reach students? There's, again, kind of an emerging line of literature about self-efficacy principles. And so as we talk about this idea of social emotional learning for your staff, the question really becomes, do you feel efficacious around helping your staff develop better social emotional skills?
Perfect. Sounds good. Why don't we dive into the prompt?
Yeah. So the prompt that we want to bring to you today comes from Albert Bandura. And the quote is, self-belief does not necessarily ensure success, but self-disbelief assuredly spawns failure. All right, so the reflection for today is, as a school leader, where do you feel most self-efficacious? Where do you feel less self-efficacious? And how does this show up in your leadership? Randy, you want to lead us off with this?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me, and I'm not speaking as a school leader here, but just in terms of my own sense of self-efficacy is, and I may have mentioned this in past clips, is I think I'm really good at persisting. And so my belief in ultimately being able to find some measure of success is pretty strong, because I don't expect it to happen quickly, and I'm willing to stick with complicated, thorny problems, whether that's in my professional life or personal life, for quite some time. And I feel like I've had success, and that approach has been rewarded. Where do I feel less self-efficacious? I mean, this is on a much smaller scale, but I hold a guitar really well, and I've held a guitar for many years. The number of years for which I've held a guitar should have translated into maybe a totally different career. That's not happened, and I take total responsibility for that. But I've definitely not been able to succeed with my guitar playing as much as I wish I would.
So if there was a professional guitar holder position, you would be it, right?
That I can do. I can definitely do that. And I can do a little bit more than just hold it. But the amount of time for which I've owned a guitar versus my skill level, that's not a good graph, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can play like one or two chords, and after a while, you sort of run out of things you can actually do with that. So Yeah. So as I look at this quote, I'm thinking back to my days as a school leader. And, as I think a lot of our work is based on this 4-path framework from Leithwood, where he talks again about the rational, organizational, family, and emotional path. And I think looking back when I was a principal, when I was a superintendent, I was really good at the rational organizational paths, right? And that's because I think they were a lot more concrete. And again, the world was going through, how to be a better instructional leader and things like that. So I felt really efficacious. I understood curriculum really well. I understood how to, implement curriculum. I understood how to, observe instruction. I felt really efficacious on helping principals get better at observing instruction around particular frameworks. And I think that's the world that we lived in during that time and are still doing. I was really good at looking at data. I was really good at laying out, how do we organize and budget and, do all those things, the real sort of technical pieces. I wasn't as good. I didn't feel as self-efficacious around the emotional path. And again, I think that's what certainly led me and, partnering with you around this idea that, again, I think to be a more efficacious leader, you have to really involve that. It's not that I was bad about it. I just didn't pay much attention to it. And so I think that I think has a lot to do with efficacy is where you place your intention, where you place your attention and intention to do a lot of the work that you need to do as a leader. So again, I think that showed up in a lot of places around a lot of learning, a lot of good professional development I could lead. Yeah, I just don't feel as efficacious. But I think, if I would go back into it now, I would certainly have a different perspective, a much different skill set. I think I would feel a lot more efficacious around the emotional path.
I really like what you said about the connection between where you place your attention and the results or the sense of the self-efficacy that you might feel. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we will be back next week with another part of self-efficacy. So until then, have a great week and we will talk to you later.
Bye, everyone.